Hey now. Welcome to Tanya, Live with Tanya. And today I'm going to do things just a little bit different because it's been so much happening, so many discussion points and stuff that's been personally going on in my world. So tonight, this is going to be unfiltered. So I want you to join me for this discussion so that we can have a conversation. And that way, you'll get the opportunity to join me a little bit later because I'm also doing something special at 7 o'clock tonight. I've got a training session about strategy, and I have had to use the lessons that I teach. You see, often when we go through some of these things, we forget that there's stuff that we walk through as well. And so, as an instructor, I've got to tap back into some of the stuff that I've learned. It's been another passing in my family, and we're walking through several challenges just being family. And when you walk through elements about that, you end up in spaces where it's like, what else is life going to throw at me? I've had a lot of rocks thrown at me in the elements of life, starting off with the fact that my grandmother had to raise me. She had to raise me because my mother wasn't in a position. And if you are in an environment where those that society says should be your first element and always present with you can't, that feels like a rock life is throwing at you. How you manage that? Another rock I had to deal with was growing up with a learning disability. A lot of the things that we have nowadays, and it's good that we're bringing to attention some of the pieces that people need to work through, deal with, so that they can get the support that they need. But if you had one of those rocks that life threw at you, because in this earlier episode, if you listen to this week's podcast, I talked about how life has a tendency to throw rocks. But when it throws rocks, here's the thing I need you to know. The people that seem to get the biggest rocks thrown at them or the most rocks thrown at them, there's something about you. There's a gift, a skill, some element that you bring to the table. It does not feel like it, but you are built for the life that you're living. There's a strength inside of you that you need to tap into. And the more that you are aware of it, the more cognizant that you function in it, the better you can move through life. There are only two elements. Because of all the rocks that life has thrown at me, I've learned to simplify things in these two elements in life that we walk through. We either have life when things are going well, or we walk through life in chaos. Those are the only two things that exist. You're either, I've heard it said, and I don't even know who said it now, but the statement was life is always throwing stuff. You're walking into chaos, coming out of chaos, or in the middle of chaos, but somewhere along the way, it is. Here's the thing, if we're constantly thinking about the chaos, we forget to find the joy. Because yes, the rocks are being thrown, but there's also joy in the present. There's also strength that you're showing. There's also a gift that's growing. And if you can focus on that, sometimes that's the way to get out of it. But you've got to first be mindful of what you bring to the table. Often, what I share, and I'm hoping that it's enough to support you guys, but if it isn't, reach out to me and let me know. Leave your comments below so that I can find another way of giving you some of this insight. I typically have sessions and training and at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you're on now and you want to join, I'm having a training session there where I go a little bit deeper, where I support a little bit more. Because when we decide to stop making life complicated, because it's going to throw its rocks, you're going to get them tossed. Narrowing it down to recognizing two elements: when life is going well, when you're in chaos. But if you know how you function when things are going well, that is a skill that you can tap into that can support you when you end up in chaos. There are three focus areas that I typically talk about. There are individuals that care about those around them. You look out for the little guy. You are the protector, the provider. That is a strength. And you may have been born into the world just to show the world. Remember that we are relational beings. Remember that we are connected to each other. That is a strength. So when life decides to throw the rocks and you end up on the other side in chaos, tap into your strength. Tap into that element so that you can bring that to the table so that others can see. We're still relational. We can still get through this. This will be okay. Maybe you're the person, not like me. Growing up, I had to discover when I was going through my learning disability, I found my superpower. I am dyslexic on top of an undiagnosed ADD moment. So that's why probably y'all see me moving around and trying to find out ways to quickly see you. I have made a decision to simplify some things. I will check the comments when I'm done going live because I'm struggling, trying to figure out how to do it until I can get someone else to support me on the journey. But I have discovered by simplifying it, tapping into my superpower, I'm built for strategy. I realized that a long time ago because I was that little girl always raising her hand. Probably the person in class that you wanted to have shut up, you didn't want to be bothered with. Yeah, I was her. And I'm still her. It's still me. I've got to know what's going on. I've got to dig deep, find a solution, get a strategy. I am wired for process. My natural, logical, analytical mind just functions that way. But I learned it helps me build strategies. It helps me take a look at the chaos that is thrown at me. And I have a unique ability in that superpower to see how you can find the patterns that are needed to get a solution to move you through the journey. It didn't feel like it was a superpower when I was going through the rocks being thrown, but I later discovered, and you may discover in the midst of the mess and the chaos, what your superpower is. Sometimes when we enter into that space, we are natural leaders. How do we know we're natural leaders? Because when chaos shows up on the other side, we stand up. We take charge. You know, somebody's got to take control of the reins, and you naturally do it. When things are going well, that is an amazing strength. And when you find yourself in chaos, knowing how to tap into that will support you on the journey. And the reason that we often don't pay attention on how to convert from one skill set to the other in those places because we are in what I typically call survival mode. If you are stuck in survival mode too long, you don't find your strengths, you don't see the strength in others, and you end up in a space in a place where conflict shows up and you are struggling. So when I, as a coach, knowing these things, are walking through the moments when life are throwing other stuff at me because 2024 already has not been kind, has not been considerate, and I am not going to let this year keep doing this to me. So there are moments need to pause. When you're in the middle of chaos, those are moments you need to pause. So I want to encourage you today. Pause. And in your pause, when you're in the middle of chaos, know what your conflict sequence is. Now, if that is a new term for you, then you definitely need to join me at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. I'll drop the link in so that you can join me there. But it was knowing my conflict sequence that I had to tap into when I got the news about the passing of family members. It seems like one after another. And then I got the news of friends going through chaos. It seemed like one after another. And I got news on my full-time job because I still work full-time in the middle of all of this. This thing needs to be done. That thing needs to be done. With all of these rocks being thrown, how do we manage it? Because I am aware of my conflict sequence. I knew what I needed to do to pull up a different strength to support me through that journey. And just because you know the skill, just because you are the one that's called on it, you may be the person everybody calls on because you always help. You're always supportive. You're always giving. They know that when they get to you, it's going to be okay. But for you, who do you go to? Who do you get to pause for a moment, breathe for a moment? Because that's where I have been. This week was my week to pause for a minute. And I had to reassess, go back, recognize, know what strengths you need to pull up when life enters on the other side where you're stuck in chaos. I had to recognize what conflict sequence I was in. There are 3 levels that I typically teach, share, and show. And I have barreled y'all way past stage 1. So for those of you that have heard me, yeah, I barreled past stage one. So I did not eliminate conflict quickly at all. I had to sit in it. I had to ponder in it. And there are moments when life is going to force you to sit in it, ponder it. Because when you finally get a moment in the sitting, there's a strength that you're building. Your emotional muscles are being built. Your physical muscles sometimes are being built. Your spiritual muscles are often being built. Because one of the things with all of the teaching and all of the tools that I recognize I got to still walk back in is recognizing that there is a being greater than myself that I have to tap into to help me do this thing called life, because we were never designed to function alone. Those of you that know me know that I believe in a relational God who stepped out of time and stepped out of eternity into time to help us recognize in the body of Jesus that we are to be interconnected. So if you're walking through your storm, somebody else's spirit is connected to your spirit because God connects all of us. And I want to say thank you. Thank you to those that connected to my spirit. I didn't even say a word and you knew I needed a call. So I say thank you. And for those that God reminds me and taps into my spirit that tells me to reach out to you, I'm thankful. And He is connecting us. And if you listen to this week's podcast, I shared a story about the life rocks being thrown. And there was a story that I shared that I heard before from someone, and I don't recall where I heard it, but it was an image that was given to me of a man that was walking when life was throwing rocks at him. And he was like, Lord, why won't you help me? Only to see that Jesus was holding back the boulders. While Jesus is holding back the boulders, you'll get some of the pebbles. But what he will also do is interconnect you with someone else. We are to do this thing in life together. There's an element of your being that resonates with an element of someone else's being so that we can do this thing together. So I don't want you walking alone. And 2024 has been doing to you what it's been doing to me. And you are someone that is skilled already, has some elements, gone through therapy, gone through coaching, gone through training, certified like myself, and you still find life on the other side. Simplify it. There's only two elements. When things are going well and when we're in chaos. But knowing your strengths, knowing your conflict sequences, knowing whatever it is that you have often tapped into to help you through the journey, pause, go back, sit in it. It ain't going to feel good, but sitting in it supports you. And I would like to also support you. So I'm going to shut down now because I've got to go into my teaching session. I'm going to leave the link in the comments. If you want to join me, join quick. You start at 7. And these are quick sessions. It's only going to be for 1 hour because this is a refresher for those that have often heard me to get some support. But if you're new, you can still catch on and we can still get the discussion together. And I'm hoping that this time with Tanya is helping you. I know I keep jumping in and I'm giving you as much as I can when I can. So me jumping in sometimes, work with me on that journey. But let me know what I can do to still support you because it's still elements that a relational being that connects us can get us together through this journey as well. So I'm going to let you guys go. Talk to you soon and see you in a little while. You're joining me. Take care.